Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of Out from the Horrorbox. Today's episode is going to be a news episode, so we're going to get into some stuff that has popped up lately. I know last month we didn't have an episode for news because we were working on a larger episode, and as it so happens, there was very light. January is usually very light on news. Getting into the new year, moving past like everything that comes out from literally like the last 3 months. That was enough for then, and not enough for January. So this month obviously is almost done, but I'm trying to do something a little bit different. So we're gonna try and give you guys some news, a larger series probably in the beginning of the month, and then maybe just like a one-off here and there. So please bear with me while we get this transition over. The news one took a little bit to get out, but here we go. Let's not dilly dally anymore, beat around the bush. Let's just get straight into it.
This is the fucking news.
First up, one thing I want to touch on is that there were a couple of trailers that had come out that I wasn't able to do a review of, and now I kind of want to. One that I saw was for Cursed, or the Cursed. That's a new movie that's coming out. Um, I think it just premiered at the Sundance Film Festival. It's written and directed by Sean Ellis, and it's about a werewolf, I assume, from what everything and the marketing that I've seen, especially the trailer. The trailer, it's like a gothic horror. Anyone who hasn't seen it, I honestly recommend watching it. It's creepy unto itself. I think it's pretty good. It makes you get like that feeling like from watching like The Witch and other stories like that are kind of set more like or like The Woman in Black, those type of period piece movies, and it looks like it is going to be amazing. Um, Honestly, it could be just like it could either be like The Witch, or it could be something a little less than. But from everything I've heard, it's getting pretty good reviews from being on the Sundance Film Festival. So hopefully it's pretty good. It looks pretty good. But then also there was a trailer for Studio 666, which is a movie that stars Foo Fighters, the band, and that trailer just looks amazing. It looks hilarious, but also like the visual effects look amazing. There are some shots that I'm like, wow, I want to know how you did that, because they just make these like shadow people look awesome. Like like their eyes stand out great. Like they are what I imagine like these like shadow people would look like. And just like having Dave Grohl be like this kind of like possessed evil person, and like they're trying to record this album, and it's a haunted house, and they like summon like whatever. It looks hilarious. It looks great. I'm so glad that like they decided to make a movie. Like it's just every little piece of the trailer. Honestly, just like with The Cursed, go watch it if you haven't seen it. It God, there's just like little parts in it where he's trying to come up with a new song, and he just ends up playing Everlong, and it's just so funny because it's like, oh, I got this new song, and he starts playing, and it's like, yeah, that's called Everlong. He wrote it back in like the 2000s. It's just it's pretty good. It looks pretty good. I can't wait for this movie. I mean, it is a horror comedy, but I mean, there's nothing really bad about that. Shaun of the Dead is an amazing movie. It comes out in a week, I believe, from now, from when I'm recording. So hopefully, it's good. It looks amazing. Can't wait. I'll probably love it either way. And lastly, one trailer that came out during the Super Bowl. Well, we really hadn't gotten anything from it, but we got some, I think, stills right before they were gonna show the trailer. But Jordan Peele's new movie, Nope, we got the trailer for that, and if you haven't seen it, watch it. It is just as confusing as I think the marketing for his other two films were. I'm gonna say more so than before because even so with us, like we didn't really know too much going in, right? But they did start showing more and more and ramping it up as we got towards the end. We still didn't really know what it was until we saw it. With this though, I think it's better to keep it more secret because look, it's probably with aliens. That's what it's kind of hinting at. So that's what I'm assuming it might be is there's some extraterrestrial presence and now these people in this remote area are having to deal with it. And to keep that quieter and more under wraps, that's usually what you do with sci-fi because you just don't want to reveal like what the aliens are or what they look like because it kind of spoils it, which I think is amazing, great, and how I would go about it too. So, and Jordan Peele has the last two knocked it out of the park. I haven't watched Twilight Zone. I hear it's pretty good. I know it got canceled, but hey. And then Candyman, he produced that one, and man, Candyman was so good. I honestly thought it could have been nominated for at least for like best cinematography because the cinematography in that movie was really good. Honestly, just watching it like just from straight up from the start to the end, and honestly, I think a lot of his films. Well, I mean, a lot of he only has two, so I think the fact that Get Out was nominated and won for Best Original Screenplay. And I honestly thought that Us should have been nominated for Best Picture. And I think that Lupita Nyong'o should have been nominated for Best Actress because to just have to do like two roles in the same movie and have them be so distinctly different but similar at the same time, like that takes talent. That takes true talent. And honestly, she's won an Academy Award for supporting actress, but I think she should win for Best Actress. She's an amazing actress. And I just love the fact that, Jordan Peele is still like sticking with horror and he hasn't moved, but not like that. He needs to just stay with horror, but I'm just saying like I love that he's not like, oh, I don't want to be pegged as that person. But it's like, it's because he's trying to tell stories that are genre bending. That it's not just horror. It's more beyond that. And I love. Honestly, I could do a whole thing. I think I might just do when Nope is finally out. Probably just do a whole thing on Jordan Peele. Just all three of his movies. But yeah, those are some trailers. Go watch them. Like I said, The Cursed is amazing. It's very atmospheric. It's very reminiscent of The Witch, and just the trailer alone is kind of scary. I watched the whole thing on YouTube. Studio 666 looks hilarious. It looks like, I mean, Dave Grohl has popped up in little parts here and there, so in like like in Tenacious D when he plays the devil, hilarious. And then Nope. Just we could sit here and guess about what that movie could be, what all the story elements could be. We could pick apart the trailer here and there, but honestly, when you do that, I feel like when you sit and just, oh well, I think it's gonna be this, and you keep theorizing about that and this and that, it just leads to, well, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I thought. That's not, and that's what a lot of people do is they end up start seeing these movies and they're like, oh, but that's not what I thought it was going to be. And it's like, that's not what I wanted because so and so told me on the internet that it should be about this and it should be about that. And it's like, you can't just wait. You can't just wait and watch the movie. I think we moved into this culture where that's it. We're waiting for what the people on the internet are going to tell us to like. But I mean, if you like a movie, you like a movie. You don't like a movie, you don't like a movie. It's as simple as that. But when you go into a movie, when you've heard somebody's like, well, I'm going to give you a review, but it's not going to spoil anything kind of review, and they're just like, well, I didn't like it because I thought it was going to do this, and I thought it was going to do that, and then it just ruins everything for everyone. That's why I think you should go into a movie optimistically. You should be thinking, okay, this movie is going to be, hopefully it's going to be good. Hopefully it's going to entertain me. If it hits artistic points, great. That's what movies are supposed to do. But the main purpose of a film is to take you out of your mundane life. And, people do it with horror just because that's what they love. And so I think that's what we should do with these films. But let's move on to the next news segment. So we've got some news on the Alien TV show that had been announced a while back. Looks like, it's going to be on FX. It's going to be set before the time where Ellen Ripley is alive and doing all her stuff. So this is from John Landgraf, who is from FX. Landgraf reiterated that Ellen Ripley will not be making an appearance in the series, which is set here on Earth decades before the events of the original Alien movie. And then per Landgraf, quote, Alien takes place before Ripley. It's the first story that takes place in the Alien franchise on Earth. So it takes place on our planet right near the end of this century we're in. So 70 odd years from now. Ripley won't be part of it or any of the other characters of the Alien other than the Alien itself. Landgraf also said that the creator of the series, Noah Hawley, his take on the Alien franchise works both as an extension and reinvention of the films that have come before it. And so Ridley Scott is still expected to be a producer. It's expected to come out next year. So it'll be on FX. It'll be next year. And Ridley Scott should be coming back as a producer. Hopefully he stays on and he doesn't exit, which sometimes usually happens, especially with a lot of these projects that have gone forward. I, for one, am excited. I love Alien. I love the Alien series. I love Prometheus. I'm probably like one of the only people, I guess, on Earth that loves that movie. I thought it wasn't bad. I really love the explanation of that these people, these engineers had come to Earth and had gone across the universe to explore and to seed life on other planets. And I thought, like, Ridley Scott had a really good idea. And me and my friend, we theorized where this series could go with that. And, like, it was so intricate, and it was, like, about how the engineers really didn't know why. Like, they were trying to figure out the meaning of life, and they were like, the reason why we did this was because of we were trying to figure it out. We had a whole thing, and I think that's where Ridley Scott was originally going to go. But then, fans, just like every other fandom, when as soon as they get upset, we have to rewrite everything for them, because they do that thing where they're like, well, that's not what I wanted. That's not what I thought the space jockey was going to be. It's like, okay, but Ridley Scott is the person who came up with this idea. He's the one who I hate having to sit here and argue about a film where it's like, it really it does tell you what the story is about in the movie. It's instead of, it shows you rather than tells you, and I feel like that showed like a lot of the flaws in these people who are online and who claim to be like these like film critics and stuff like that, because it's like, okay, but you constantly say that you don't want your hand held, and you don't want to be told, you want to be shown. And when a movie does that, where they try and show you rather than tell you, you are saying that it's confusing, that it doesn't make any sense, that nothing was explained. And yeah, it's like, okay, but I could tell you what anything that you're asking, I could tell you, like, okay, well, this is the reason. Well, that's the reason. The movie explained it. It's just either you weren't paying attention, or the simple idea of, oh, they showed you and didn't tell you, went above your head. And then we got Alien Covenant, and that movie was not good. It completely ruined the whole thing that Ridley Scott was setting up. Like, it just didn't make any sense. It doesn't really fit. It was trying to give us an alien story while also trying to be a sequel to Prometheus. And then what's even more ridiculous is that people complain, like, why don't we just get a sequel to Prometheus? And it's like, because are you? It just infuriates me, because it's like, are you serious? Like, that's what Ridley Scott wanted to give you, but you complained about it. So he's like, well, let me give you an alien movie, and then because you also wanted that too. It's just ridiculous. Like, he was trying to set up something beyond that, right? Beyond Alien, like, to show, like, oh, like, the xenomorphs are not the only aliens in the alien universe. Like, there are multiple different aliens, and the fact that, like, hey, what are they doing? Like, what are these other beings doing? Why are they doing this? Like, why did they create them? Like, that's what he was trying to explore. And you wanted a movie that explained all of that all at once. And it's like, yeah, but that's not what he was trying to do. He was trying to give you, like, hey, here's the setup, and let me explain it. But then halfway through the explanation, you're like, well, no, I just want another alien movie. And it's like, okay, well, then here's an alien movie. And you're like, well, why didn't you just tell me the rest of that other story? Upsetting, infuriating. Hopefully he pulls something from Prometheus and makes it more canonical, or maybe, kind of rewrites the David's, like, going and creating the xenomorphs or whatever. Maybe we get some more of, like, the retconning of, like, the third, especially the third one and the fourth one, because a lot of that's just a little ridiculous, with the, like, half human xenomorph thing that's like, and then, like, the clone of Ripley and all this stuff, but whatever, right? And I mean, we did get to see in Alien versus Predator, which is non-canonical, a version of Earth that had the xenomorphs, but they were more like trying to explain that they were hunted for the Predator. I don't know. It just that too is it's an awesome idea. Like, the first one was awesome. The second one was stupid. It was really ridiculous. But I can't wait for this. This is gonna be pretty good. It sounds like it. Like, what they're trying to do is they're trying to give us something to. I don't even know how to explain it. Like, trying to, I guess, build the universe better. So hopefully it works. Hopefully it's not just gonna be like, oh, Prometheus, that didn't happen. And it's like, well, that's kind of dumb. Hopefully it kind of, like, or maybe, like, even if you were to take that idea and kind of rework it with the xenomorphs and all that, like, it could work. Honestly, I think that you could work this stuff out. But I mean, who's to say, like, it might be bad, right? But hopefully, being optimistic about it, I'm just gonna wait to see it when it comes out. Hopefully, it's pretty good. Some big news that we just got the other day was that Stranger Things is coming back. We know now it's coming back in May, but we're getting it in two parts. Apparently, Volume 1 will be premiering on May 27th of 2022, and Volume 2 will premiere on July 1st of 2022. And it's said to be twice the length of, like, previous seasons. That's why it's going to be broken up into two parts. So we're almost getting, like, two whole seasons in 1 year. but it's just crazy because like each season was like 8 episodes. I think the longest one was season 2 with like 9 episodes. I think, and I mean we've been waiting for this for I don't know what 2 years now because season 3 came out and then bam the pandemic hit and I think it stalled everything and then like I mean obviously it was a bigger story than before. So that's something that they were trying to work on, and then then the pandemic hits and it stalls it even further, and then finally we got little things here and there. We got some teasers, we got some poster stuff, but nothing really major that got anything. And then we even got like the title of a couple of the episodes, and it kind of sounds like pretty good. Oh man, it just sounds awesome because it's like well, this is what we know so far. It's that we know that like Hopper's still alive. Anyone out there who isn't caught up probably should leave. But we know that he's still alive from what happened at the end of the third season. We know like everyone's basically broken up because Will and Eleven moved away, and now we're gonna have to see what these characters have been doing in the meantime, and it's awesome because I think we have to also see the ramifications of like Billy dying, having been taken over by the Mind Flayer, and then like what this all ties to the Upside Down, right? Because with Hopper being, we're gonna have to see him get back to America, right? We're gonna have to see the gang get back together. We're going to have to see, and then apparently, I didn't know this, but Robert Englund is in this, and he's playing Victor Krell, a disturbed man who was imprisoned in a psychiatric hospital for a gruesome murder in the 50s. So what does that have to do with the story, right? Like all this has to tie back together, and then we're obviously going to see, what's his name from the first season, the doctor guy who is the one who did all the experiments. He's coming back because we never actually saw him die, or it's flashbacks. We don't know 100%, but still, it's just like this could be epic because like the first season is pretty good. It's a pretty good season of television. You could just stop right there, and it's pretty good, right? It does leave you with a cliffhanger, but you could theoretically stop and watch that. The second season, I like some of the things that they tried to do. Explore a little bit more of the other people who were being experimented on because we know that she's number 11. There's 10 numbers from 1 to 10 that we could explore, and we did. We got to see her so-called sister, number 8, and she creates illusions. And I would just love to have seen more of that because that kind of that to me reminds me of like an X-Men type of thing where like these people where it's like eventually they're going to be like a super team that comes together. But I know people got upset with that, like, oh, it was boring, this and that, and detracted from the story, which I will say season 2 is kind of long for no reason, and like I feel like it like stalls at certain points where it's like, oh well, we have to wait till so and so gets here, so the action can't move forward because 11's not here yet, or oh well, we have to deal with Max being in the group, so we can't keep going. We have to resolve that issue first, and then there was like some stuff with like Billy, and it didn't really. I feel like in the second season doesn't really work. In the third season, the third season I think is the best season by far. It from start to finish is like a story that just the action, and it gives better character to Billy. Like the mom, I feel like gets more of like an arc too. We get to see more of these characters that we like interacting more and like being together more. Like the guy who knows Russian, and then the Russian guy too, and then like interacting with Hopper and Joyce Byers. Like we get to see all this stuff, and then we get to see like these. I don't know. I feel like that season had so much growth for these characters. The fact that 11 wasn't just like in love with Mike the whole time, because that's literally what the second season was. And then and the fact that like they don't really even get back together in the end. Like the fact that these characters are like broken up, and it's crazy too, because I feel like at that point you could also say that that was the end too, because it kind of wraps itself up too. Except it does give you the little teaser about some American, right, and then it shows that the Russians have access to the Upside Down. They have their own Demogorgons and stuff. So we know that something's gonna go with that. So that's for season 4. What we also found out is that there's going to be a 5th season, and that's going to be the end. So there's not only this 4th season, which is going to be a long season, which is going to be broken up into 2 pieces, but then we're also getting a 5th season next year. So, or the year out. I'm not sure. I'm not sure on exactly when the 5th season is going to come out, but it's just crazy that I love that they found an endpoint for themselves. Obviously, they could have done that with any of the past 3 seasons, but they decided, like these people really like this, and we want to explore these characters more. They're characters that everyone likes, but there has to be a point where you say, okay, that's it, that's done. And because if you keep going, it's just gonna be too long, too much, and people are gonna complain about it. So I'm glad for them. I'm glad that we get to see these characters evolve and change and grow. But not just that, but also like the story progress, and it's not just the same thing over and over again. I feel like the second season was a little bogged down because it kind of felt like the first season, but I love that it evolved in the 3rd season. And I can't wait to see this next season and the 5th season and just see how it concludes. And just maybe see I don't know. I hate doing this, but just thinking where the story could go from here. Maybe they're more grown up, and maybe them dealing with the ramifications of these past traumas too. I think that would be a pretty good show too. But just like everything else today, we're gonna have to just wait till it comes out, and we're gonna have to wait till to see what happens. And maybe it's good. Maybe it's not. Who knows? That's what you gotta. That's what you gotta wait and see. So we learned that Rupert Grint from Harry Potter, he played Ron Weasley. He is going to star in M. Night Shyamalan's next thriller, which is called Knock at the Cabin. And Rupert Grint right now is actually starring in an M. Night Shyamalan produced show called Servant on Apple TV Plus. I think it's in its 2nd or 3rd season. I hear it's pretty good, so I need to watch it. But so he's been cast in this, and we also know that Nikki Amuka Bird has also been signed on, and that Dave Bautista has already been signed on to this. There's not any details for it, obviously, because it's M. Night Shyamalan, and he likes to keep things under wrap. But it is supposed to come out in theaters February 3rd next year, 2023. Shyamalan will write, direct, and produce. Here's the thing. M. Night Shyamalan is the one director I have the strongest love-hate relationship with. On the one hand, there's Signs and The Village and The Sixth Sense, right? And Glass and Split. Those are amazing movies. These movies that literally are wow, I don't know how you came up with these, but these are amazing. Then you have things like The Happening and After Earth and what's that stupid one where the kids go with the grandparents? The Visit, and these movies, and then Unbreakable. I am not a fan of Unbreakable. I do love Split and I do love Glass, but just Unbreakable is not great. And then he did Last Airbender, and it's like you completely ruined that. And there's this idea that like he doesn't make good movies, right? Or it's like, oh, it has to have a twist, and they do have to have a twist. But he does make some pretty good movies. Like I said, if you haven't seen Split, you need to see Split. It has one of the best and saddest twists in the history of, I think, film. Not not like all time, but I mean, it is one. I would say it's up there with a lot of like sad twist endings because if you, I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but like there's something that happens that like it causes like the villain to like stop what essentially just stop what they're doing because of the protagonist. And then we also get that weird twist that it's like, oh, it's set in the same universe as Unbreakable. What? Um, and you know, there was a long period of time where people were just he was just a joke. M Night Shyamalan was a joke, and then he came back with like Split and Glass, and now everyone's like, "Oh, M Night Shyamalan," and I'd say the same thing too, and that's why I'm going to go in with the biggest grain of salt because I did it with Last Air. It's like the Last Airbender. I wanted it to be good so bad, so bad. I told myself, I understand like it's M Night Shyamalan, and he's not got like it's been up and down, but like maybe it might be good. And then I went to the premiere and I was disappointed to say the least. It's just like I don't understand how you took from the source material and ruined it. Like you ruined it. Like you changed people's names because you were told that you weren't being Asian enough because you weren't casting all these white actors. And so what you decided to do was like, oh yeah, but we're gonna pronounce it more Asian, and it's like that. What? That doesn't make any sense. And the fact that you got these, and I mean, there's nothing wrong with getting new young actors right in your movie, but the fact that you got these ones that were just like so stiff and so stale, and they had no charm or charisma. They didn't blend together at all, and you just ruined the whole thing. That's why like it sounds like it could be good, right? Like just the title itself, Knock at the Cabin. Like what is that? Like what does that mean? Like what you want to know what it is so bad, and then we go and see it, and hopefully it's good. I'm gonna say right now I'm giving it like another thing, just another one of the like I said before. I'm gonna say till I see it. I'm not gonna knock it. I'm not gonna, and especially if we start getting more and more. I'm gonna just give it some time, mull it over till we get it, and then when I see it, I'll let you know from there what I think. I don't want to start theorizing because that's what happens. Is we I don't want to go into it again. The cycle of theorizing and then hating things, whatever. But that's I love that Rupert Grint. I think he amongst the three of them, Daniel Radcliffe, Emma Watson, and him, I think he not struggled, but he didn't really secure that foothold of like an acting that they did. Like it took Daniel Radcliffe, I think, being in something so radical as and different as like The Woman in Black and Swiss Army Man for people to take him seriously as, oh yeah, he could do something. He's not just Harry Potter, right? And Emma Watson, I think, because she started taking like different roles here and there and a lot of independent films, and that built up her credit. So when she started doing things like, I think it was The Bling Ring, and she was in Beauty and the Beast, she was in The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I think that's why that helped her too to be like, okay, well, she's seen as a more legitimate actress or actor. And I think the same thing with, I think Rupert Grint needed that too. I think he had been in like a lot of independent things till more recently. So I think it's good that like he's going to start moving into bigger projects, and we could see him and what he could do beyond just, oh, I'm Ron Weasley, type of thing. Hopefully it's good. And Dave Bautista is actually a really good actor. If you haven't seen Blade Runner 2049, which I highly recommend, it is a beautiful movie. The cinema, I'm so glad that Roger Deakins won for that movie, because he won Best Cinematographer for that movie, because it is beautifully. It's a piece of art unto itself. Just the cinematography is amazing. The set pieces, the production design. Oh my god, that movie is so good. But beyond that, he does have a small part, and he's honestly pretty good in that, just being in that one little role in the beginning. So I honestly, I can't wait for him to be in this. I mean, he does Drax pretty good. So let's see what else he's got. So now that we've been through the news that has come out just recently, I want to get into one movie that I really love. Me and my sister, who she was on the last podcast on Scream. One movie that we both love is Wes Craven's Cursed. And I know that a lot of people don't really like this movie. It came out back, 2005, I think. But ever since it's been out and we watched it, we've loved it. And it's ridiculous. It's over the top. It's campy. It's the acting is weird and not creepy, crazy. It has Christina Ricci. It has Jesse Eisenberg, which I think this is like one of the only roles I actually like him in. It has all these, like, it has Judy Greer in it. It's like I love that, like, she was in, like, these people were in this, and this is crazy. But it's like, I guess there should, or theoretically there might exist a Craven cut of this movie, which would, obviously have a lot of plot points or story that was, cut out of the movie. And you can tell that some things were cut from the movie, from just the way it is, like it goes from here to there to kind of all around. But let's get into it. So just like we've seen before with, like, I mean, it's happened before this, but the Justice League just recently had a Snyder cut, right? Where they not only allowed Zack Snyder to go back and give you the full version of the Justice League that he wanted to do, but also, they shot film for it. New scenes, and they added in things here and there. But we've done that. I mean, that's happened before. That's happened with, like, Blade Runner, where there's literally like 5 different cuts of that movie, because so many different people have different ideas of what the movie should have been. We have the producer's cut of Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers, because there was one version that the producers wanted versus what the Weinsteins wanted versus what the director wanted. And they came in, they screened it for a group of 14-year-old boys, and they took 14-year-old boys' advice instead of bringing in adults and letting them see this. So we've seen this happen before, where there's like so and so's cut, or the producer's cut, or the director's cut, because sometimes with film that happens, where a studio gets involved and they decide, we don't want you to do that. We don't want you to do this. So the same thing with Cursed. That happened. So this is one of the most famous alternate horror movie cuts that hasn't yet to surface, because it might not even exist. Because there's no completed Craven's cut of Curse sitting somewhere on a shelf waiting for the release. But it's also clear that, like, the footage is floating around somewhere. So someone could theoretically come around and piece it together. Especially because, as we talked about with Scream, R.I.P. Wes Craven, but he's no longer with us, and there's no one to actively advocate for like this cut, right? To sit there and be like, oh, I would really love to see this, and like get with Shout Factory and get this cut put out for us to see. But you know, it was originally written in 2000, and executives at Dimension claimed that Curse was going to reinvent the werewolf genre. But it took half a decade and 4 reshoots before Curse finally made its way to screens. And what was written and what was shot and what we've seen are all 3 different things. While lots of the elements are thought to, for a long time, to be lost in the sand of time, as we march on, these little bits and pieces continue to find the light of day. And one major difference is that Skeet Ulrich from Scream, who played Billy Loomis, was originally in Curse, with Craven's original vision also featuring practical effects work from Rick Baker from American Werewolf in London. Baker was eventually moved to other projects, and it was rewritten and reshot and given some CGI, and it's early 2000 CGI, so it's not really that great, and it completely altered Craven's original plans. The original plot centered around a trio of characters brought together by a car accident turned werewolf attack. Those leads were Ellie Hudson, which is Christina Ricci, Vince Winston, which would have been Skeet Ulrich's character, and Jimmy Myers, which is Jesse Eisenberg, and several notable cast members eventually were cut or dropped due to lengthy hiatus, because I think it was supposed to have way more people in there too. And Scream Factory just recently is going to bring Curse out on Blu-ray. It's coming out in April, so I can't wait. Honestly, I'm gonna purchase it. I'm gonna get it. I love Cursed. I don't own it on DVD or Blu-ray. Can't wait. Can't wait to get that. I'd love to add it to my, collection of Blu-rays that I got. But Scream Factory did announce that the unrated cut is not the original Craven cut of the film, featuring different actors in the roles. They tried. They tried to get it together. But what does exist of the Craven cut? And this is from people at the site Hello Sydney. They just unearthed a gallery of images from some of those alternate scenes showing off everything from a badass practical werewolf to a look at Skeet Ulrich's excise character. So, which means that what I am assuming from what I'm getting is that originally these characters were not related. The Ellie Hudson and Jimmy, they were not. Ellie and Jimmy were not related, or if they were, there was probably something more tenuous than that. Maybe like a brother she hardly knew, maybe like a stepbrother or a half brother that maybe she is now in charge of, right? And it just sounds like, I mean, I love the movie. I love Cursed. I will go. I want to review it. I'm going to review it eventually. I'll bring Steph back on for it, my sister. But honestly, I would love to see a cut that was, what Wes Craven originally intended. This master of horror, he never got to show you what he wanted. This is what he wanted to give, and we couldn't get it because, just like everything else, the Weinsteins ruined everything. Because this, at the time, it was Dimension, and it was under the Weinsteins, and they ruined everything. They ruined Halloween, Curse of Michael Myers. They ruined Scream 3. They ruined this movie. Literally, they were toxic. They are toxic. They should have been excised a long time ago from Hollywood. And that's my little rant about them. But I would love to see these, and hopefully I'll get these the stills posted to my Instagram so you guys can see them. But man, this is just one of those ones where it's I really would love to see the alternate footage, to just see what this story would have been like had it played out the way that Wes Craven wanted it, right? Like just to see like what this practical. I mean, we're probably not gonna get like every single practical effect like Rick because obviously he was moved, but just to see like these pieces of the story where like these characters that were just completely thrown out of the movie, and it feels it you can sometimes feel like there's supposed to be something there and something's missing, and it's just like they had to piece together the story from what they had, and it does suck because like I've been saying, I love this movie. It's it's a guilty pleasure. I'm not even gonna say guilty. It's a pleasure. I love it. I don't care who knows it. Like if you guys hate me for it, if you think my taste of movies has changed because of that or whatever, I don't care. Love this movie. I love it for all of its flaws, for all of its ridiculousness. Like I love the fact that Judy Greer is a werewolf, and when Christina Ricci is trying to explain that it's a werewolf, and the cops aren't believing her, and she literally starts explaining that, like she's like, oh yeah, and she's got like her hair is like ridiculous and awful, and then she, as a werewolf, comes back and flips off Christina Ricci, and literally as a werewolf is like God, it's ridiculous, it's hilarious, it's amazing, and I'd love to see what Wes Craven originally had for this. All right, to cap off today's episode, we're gonna read some stories. It's the what is your true spooky stories. So let's get into that. So let's start with our first story called Someone. The scariest experience of my life happened while camping. I live in Eastern Oregon, and my mom lives in Western Oregon. I went to visit her for the summer, and she was very outdoorsy, so we decided to take the 1 hour drive from her city to the coast. We ended up at this free campsite at the top of this hill, and we were the only campers there. Relaxed for the rest of the day, made food, etc. A truck full of men drive up the hill and talk with my mom. I don't know what about, wasn't suspicious at the time, and they leave us. Fast forward to the middle of the night, and I heard her gasp, and it woke me. She was sitting straight up in the tent. She saw I was awake, and she put her hand over my mouth because I was starting to ask her what's wrong. It was dead silent, and all of a sudden you hear footsteps right beside the tent. The little flap that covers the zipper wasn't even moving. Thankfully, my mom was quick wits and said very loudly, "Kenny grabbed the gun." Kenny is my dad, although that doesn't matter, and mind you, he was not there. Just us girls, like I previously said. They left. No harm was done. Thank you, Lord, for my mama. That's creepy. Like, I went camping one time, and I woke up to something sniffing around my head. Luckily, we did have a gun with us, so just in case if it was like a bear or something, because there are bears out in the woods. I think though it might have been raccoons, because we ended up finding like some of our trash was scattered around, and there were like footprints on my car, so like little little footprints from like something scurrying across it. So it was probably just a raccoon, but I mean, if it was a bear, I did wake up because I could hear it sniffing around my head, and it did freak me out. But I don't know for a fact what it was. So our next story is called Farmhouse. 4 years ago, I lived in a very large farmhouse that was converted into 2 apartments. It was known as Old Boys Home. It housed boys with behavioral issues, but was closed due to allegations of molestation. I lived there with my boyfriend and 3-year-old daughter. My bedroom had a large fireplace that had been boarded up and painted over. I decided to push my bed up against it one day while I was rearranging things. That night, around 1 a.m., I heard a small voice saying, "Mom, Mom, Mommy, I sat up but didn't see anything, so I reached over my boyfriend to get my daughter and put her in our bed. I kept feeling around and I was still hearing the voice, but I couldn't feel her. My boyfriend woke up and turned the bedside lamp on, asking me what the hell I was doing. I explained that Amelia was trying to get in her bed and I was reaching for her. There was nobody there. My daughter was sound asleep in her room. Then the next night came. Around 1 a.m. again, my dog had started to whimper at our door. So my boyfriend got up to take him out. You know that feeling in bed when someone lies down next to you, where the bed pushes in and there's a warmth at your back? I felt that. So I assumed my boyfriend had come back to bed. I rolled over. My boyfriend wasn't in the bed, and I felt that the effing bed released pressure. Whatever was lying next to me has gotten up that second. I moved my bed the next day to the other side of the room, and I never had another incident in the 2 years I'd remained in that house. That's kind of spooky. Just feeling like someone's there and then no one's there. Creepy. Our next story is called Black Figure. When I was around 14, one night I'd asked my dad to wake me up early at about 5 a.m. because I had some work to get done. That morning I was woken up and I flung my legs over the side of my bed. I felt a tug on both of them, and what I thought at the time was just my dad trying to get me to hurry up. I reached over to pick up my phone and turned it on. 3:30 a.m. I looked over at the black figure, which I assumed was my dad, and which then disappeared. It's kind of creepy. Just to wake up to see something there, and then it just disappears. Ugh. That reminds me of the Babadook. That's a creepy movie. The next story is called Creepy Girl. Me and a friend of mine live in rural Ireland. We were going for a walk in the grounds behind a castle. As we were coming to the end of our walk, it was pretty dark, and we glanced into an area that has a well, and something caught our eyes. He stayed a bit further back, walked over and looked into the well, only to see two yellow eyes looking up at me, and a sinister-looking grin from a girl with dark hair. Naturally, we ran like little girls. We were followed by this little girl all night. We went to a graveyard and found her watching us while she sat in a tree. We went under a bridge a few miles outside of the village, and she was standing at the other end of the bridge and slowly started walking towards us. We both saw her every single time. That's creepy. That's when you'd be like, let's go home. Oh no, wait, but then she might follow them home. Ugh. Our next story is called An Intruder. Just yesterday, I was in my cousin's house after helping them with the laundry and heard someone say, hello. And is anyone here, low tone? The family was in their parents' room, and I was in their room. I was and decided it must be the TV that was on in their room, and if anything, they would have heard it too. Dogs started barking a little bit. Then after 10 minutes, I stopped paying attention because no one was screaming. There was an intruder in the house. Cousin comes back to their room and asks me, why is the front door open? WTF. That's creepy. Just to hear something and then the door was open. It's did somebody actually come in? Okay, guys, so that's been this episode, and thank you for listening. Thank you guys for sticking around. Thank you for all that you guys do, all the likes that I get on Instagram, all the people out there who listen to any episode, doesn't matter who or which one. I just want to say that, you guys can give us any kind of recommendations you want. You can send us anything that is horror related. You can let me know if there's anything here on the internet, if there's any stories that you have, if there's anything that's happened to you personally, or of anyone. You can DM me on Instagram. It's at Horrorbox Podcast. And you can also send us stuff directly to our email. It's horrorboxpodcast@gmail.com. Send it there, and I'll be sure to look at it and see if maybe that's something that I want to share on the podcast. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to hear what you guys want me to cover. So stay tuned. There's going to, like I said, it's going to be a little bit of a format change. I'll probably have another podcast by the end of this week, or maybe the end of next week. Not sure. Coming up, just another review, and then we'll get into a bigger review after that. But if there's anything in particular you want me to review right now, let me know. I'll look into it, and I'll probably do it. If anyone recommends anything, I'll probably usually do it. That's something that I want more of, and then not just that, but also like personal stories. Anything that's spooky that's happened to you, or anything that you've like seen that you're like, oh yeah, can't wait to share this. One thing I found out that there's a place here locally, if you're in Arizona, called Terror Traders. I'm gonna do a little review of that later. I've only been there once. I want to go again and kind of I shot some stuff, so I want to shoot some more and get it for you guys. So, thank you again. Until next time, and we'll get something that comes out from the horror box.